The entire week Alara was gone. My mind raced with questions. Should I confront her? Change the locks? Consider divorce? It wasn't easy to think about throwing away 4 years of marriage, but I couldn't tolerate her cheating again, especially after everything we went through to rebuild our relationship the first time. She had promised it wouldn't happen again, yet here we were. This betrayal cut deep. Her first affair had completely derailed our plans to start a family, and it took us months to rebuild trust. Oddly enough, Alara had been the one to confess about the first affair. I had no idea and would never have suspected anything. Her confession, while painful, allowed us to work through it. I remember that moment so clearly. We were driving back from her mom's house. Alara was unusually quiet during dinner, but her mom's endless chatter masked any signs of trouble. "You know I love you, right?" she asked out of nowhere. "Yeah, I do. Are you feeling insecure?" I replied, a bit confused. "No, it's not that. I have something bad to confess," she said, clearly struggling. "I had an affair. It's over now. It didn't last long. I'm so sorry. I wish I could undo it." I was stunned. My first questions were, who was it with? Why did it happen? Where did it happen? I'm glad I asked because in that vulnerable moment, she spilled everything. It was Liana's fiancé who had been hitting on her. She agreed to meet him for a drink, claiming she wanted to gather evidence to show Liana. Or at least that's what she told herself. She said she tried to discourage him, convincing him he should only want Liana. A couple of weeks later, while I was on a business trip, she went to a party at Liana's place, had a few drinks, and they ended up in bed together. She saw him 2 more times before the guilt became too much. She said she ended it. 2 months later, we attended their wedding, and a month after that, they moved to Chicago. I could almost understand how it happened. An attractive guy showing interest, a bit of alcohol, and things can escalate quickly. But the fact that it happened multiple times was hard to swallow. And with Liana's fiancé, betraying her best friend like that showed a serious lack of character. How could she stand there as a bridesmaid, celebrating her friend's wedding while secretly sleeping with the groom? After her confession, things between us fell apart. I didn't want to be at home, and I couldn't even bring myself to touch her. Every time I tried, I pictured her with Liana's fiancé. Knowing she had kept this secret from me made me feel foolish and gullible. I cringed at the memory of congratulating him at the wedding, offering him marriage advice, completely unaware of the truth. After 2 weeks of barely speaking, Alara asked if we could try counseling. She was scared I would leave her, that she had destroyed our marriage beyond repair. The counseling sessions were grueling, but after several months, I started to detach from the mess, and our relationship began to heal. A lot came out in those sessions. Alara had been anxious about our marriage because of my frequent travel. I had been too passive, avoiding difficult conversations, and my silence had made her feel inadequate. It's strange how someone else's actions can end up making you feel at fault. Therapy became a way to distribute the blame between us. For a while, the balance swung back and forth as we worked through our anger and denial. Eventually, we found a middle ground and started to be happy again. The commitments we made to honesty, trust, fidelity, and communication were the most valuable parts of therapy for me. I genuinely put in the effort. I rearranged my travel schedule to spend more time together. We started working out as a team and made sure to have dinner together even on my long workdays. But now all of that seemed pointless. I discovered her second affair purely by accident. It was 3 a.m., and I needed to send a file, but my email wasn't working. Alara was asleep, so I decided to use her laptop, connect to her work network, and send the file through her work email. While moving the mouse, I glanced at the preview pane of her email. There it was. "You are so unbelievably sexy." The sender was someone from her workplace. My heart raced, but I thought it might just be harmless flirting. The rest of the email suggested a deeper connection. I tried to convince myself, maybe it's just a close friendship. I looked up the guy's name in her email. To my horror, there were numerous saved emails from him and many from her as well. I randomly picked one from him. "Yesterday was the absolute most amazing time of my life. You are a goddess." My heart sank. Then I picked another, this time from her. It mentioned setting up a date and said, Caspian will be out of town. I have to be home by 10 for his call. Another from him read, You are a bad girl, and I love it. My anger boiled over. I considered confronting her right then. I debated whether to read all the emails. I needed time to think. My first idea was to forward all his emails to my account, but I didn't want to leave traces. Instead, I painstakingly copied each email onto a USB drive. I tried to sleep, but sharing a bed with Alara felt unbearable. Even trying to rest on the couch felt worse, as if her infidelity was pushing me out of our own home. I ended up at the kitchen table, flipping through magazines until dawn. After showering, I woke Alara and told her I had an urgent work issue to handle at the office. Then I left. Alone at my desk, I printed out all the emails between Alara and this guy Raphael. Their messages revealed a physical affair that had started 3 months ago and was still ongoing. Alara had no plans to end it. This wasn't a fling. They were regularly involved. The most shocking part was the pictures Raphael had taken. He sent Alara photos of them together, some very explicit, including ones taken in front of a mirror showing their faces. Looking at those pictures was difficult. They made my stomach churn and brought up a surge of emotions. Another surprising detail was that Raphael and Alara were scheduled to attend the same conference the following week, from Monday to Friday, in Phoenix. They openly discussed spending a whole night together but needed to be careful about the timing since Alara had to ensure she didn't miss her scheduled calls with me. Those calls were part of our promise to stay faithful, open, and honest. It seemed that commitment was just a meaningless formality to some people. I decided not to confront Alara immediately. I wanted to use the week she was away to sort out my own feelings and decide what I truly wanted. The last time this happened, she had blindsided me despite promising it would never happen again. I couldn't predict where a confrontation would lead, but I knew it would be tough to keep a clear head for a while afterward. Glancing at my computer calendar, I realized it was Wednesday. I'd already gone through anger and denial. It was time to make a decision. What did I want? The answer surged up from deep inside. Revenge. I wanted revenge. She had deceived me, promised fidelity, and then betrayed me. I had trusted her and dedicated 2 more years of my life to her because I believed what she said during our counseling sessions. 2 years I could never get back. Divorce might not solve anything. I suspected she might be staying out of guilt or some twisted sense of loyalty. Maybe she felt trapped by a commitment to stay with me. If we divorced, she'd likely get half of what little we had. She'd still be a lawyer and attractive enough to find another man. What I really wanted was to destroy her dreams and aspirations. At one point, I even considered hiring someone to hurt her. Violent thoughts crossed my mind, but I realized they would turn me into a monster and could land me in prison for life. I needed another way. I kept up my act during our nightly check-in calls, becoming skilled at pretending to be content. I decided to set her up and then bring her down. I just had to come up with a foolproof plan. They say the devil is in the details, just like God, so I needed a plan that wouldn't give me away and that I could execute successfully. I had to work with what I knew. Computers. The temptation was to do something completely out of my field to throw suspicion off me, but I decided to stick with my expertise. Using a complex and hard-to-trace method, I created an online account that tapped into servers located in another country. I also set up a basic website. Took a couple of weeks to get everything in place. During this time, I practiced acting and honed my skills. I sighed, Hey, while you were away, I had some time to reflect on us. Alara, lying next to me in bed, murmured, I've been thinking, maybe we should consider having a baby? I said, trying to sound sincere. Alara's interest was piqued. Not right this moment, but maybe we could start trying in a few months? Her hand gently touched my chest as she lifted her head to meet my gaze. That's a wonderful idea, she said. I've wanted to bring up the idea of having a baby, but I was concerned that we weren't quite ready. I put on a loving smile. I'm feeling ready now. You've been everything I could have asked for, I said, my hand moving up and down her arm, holding her elbow. You've been so open and loving, and I truly believe you're fully committed to us. Alara's head dipped, seemingly embarrassed by the praise. I continued, I think we should discuss this more. See how it feels. Make sure it's the right step. Maybe in a month or two. Alara leaned in and kissed me. As I said, acting can be enjoyable. We talked about having a baby. I wanted her to make an informed choice, which meant understanding how it could affect her career, our relationship, and our ability to take vacations. After finishing my website, I faced a crucial decision. Whether to proceed with my plan or not. I opted to check Alara's email again, aiming to find out if she and Raphael were still involved or if things had cooled down due to the discussions about having a baby. I waited until Alara was asleep, then woke up her laptop, logged into her work network, and accessed her inbox. There was nothing unusual and no emails from Raphael. I ran a search and there it was, my wife's own words. Baby. You know I'll probably get pregnant soon. Get the baby now. After I go off the pill, we'll have to cool it when I'm ovulating. Don't worry, baby. I'll be using a basal thermometer to tell me when the little egg drops, so we won't suffer too much. Raphael responded, we can test protection. Operation Revenge was set in motion. Alara and I enjoyed a romantic dinner at her favorite restaurant on a Friday night. While waiting for coffee, I held her hand and said, I think we should go for it. I gave her a meaningful nod. Alara's face lit up. She took a deep breath and reached for my hand. I really want a baby. Thank you. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart, I replied. We agreed that she'd stop taking the pill when her next cycle came around. She could become fertile within a month. Little did she know that on Monday morning, she'd encounter some unsavory individuals or hackers trying to appear threatening. My website had a front page featuring Alara, though her face was intentionally blurred. Real wife having fun. Real playing. I tried various typos and that one felt suitable. The headline read, Real wife having a good time with a man who isn't her husband. Cheating wife must pay. That was my favorite line. It was quite over the top, wasn't it? My primary concern was getting the message to Alara. I spoofed an email address from a business contact to ensure it caught her attention. I used the subject line, I know about you and Raphael. I sent the email through an anonymous server, worried the FBI might trace it back to me. By Saturday, I was anxiously awaiting the weekend's conclusion. I was relieved not to be at home. The waiting time allowed me to prepare for what I hoped would be a convincing act. My plan depended on how Alara reacted. If she broke down in tears and begged for forgiveness, I had to be prepared. As I pulled into the driveway, her car was already parked in the garage, and the house lights were on. It was time to see which version of Alara awaited me tonight. Hey, honey, I called out. Silence. I found her in the kitchen, staring at an open bottle of wine that was already half empty. Starting early? I remarked. She shook her head. I had a really rough day. I slipped into the role of the supportive husband, masking my true intentions. I wrapped my arms around her, offering a gentle hug and suggesting a neck rub to help her relax. As I worked on her shoulders, she tried to pull away, but I held on, pretending to comfort her. Are you hungry? I asked, trying to keep things casual. I nibbled on a cheese sandwich, wondering if my actions were actually helping. Maybe her tough day at work had nothing to do with me, but I needed to move forward with my plan. That night, lying next to my unfaithful wife, I prepared for what was to come. The email I had received earlier in the week included both my email address and her parents' contact information. I let her believe the consequences might be minor, hoping to draw out her distress and prolong her suffering. I watched as she opened the email, her heart racing. Should I tell Caspian? Should I pay? She must have wondered. Ignoring the demands might lead to more, but paying might not solve anything. I checked the website repeatedly and discovered that at 3:10 in the afternoon, she had paid $500 to have the photos removed. The thought of her struggling with this decision all day was almost satisfying. My plan was working. There's something profoundly satisfying about seeing your plans come to fruition. Revenge was my ultimate goal, but the process of planning and execution had a life of its own. Tuesday night wasn't like Monday. When Alara came home, I greeted her, and she responded with a warm hug and a kiss. She seemed happy, though I could tell it was forced. She had paid the money but was unsure if the blackmailers would keep their end of the bargain. Alara is truly an engaging companion. Smart, with intriguing viewpoints, and we always have great conversations. We cooked dinner together, flirting and sharing food like lovers. She thanked me for lifting her spirits, and for a moment, it felt genuine. This is the life. Later, we lay in bed discussing the possibility of having a baby. Her birth control cycle was ending in a few days, which meant waiting 2 to 3 weeks for her fertile window. "I can't wait," she exclaimed. "I love you with all my heart," she told me. Considering Alara's betrayal and the situation, the fact that we were contemplating having a baby made me reflect. Did I really need revenge? During my daily run, feelings of anger and pain surfaced. Should I forgive after making her suffer? Would it be more manly to divorce her and walk away? The answer surprised me. I wanted to cause her pain. I wanted to shame her. I had no interest in transforming her into a genuinely faithful wife and mother. My desire was to disrupt her life in a way that would haunt her until her final days, and I wanted her to never suspect it was me. She would always believe that I had been the innocent victim, that she had lost me and the family we had planned. So what am I? I questioned myself. I'm a man. I shook myself vigorously. I'm a man, I repeated out loud. I crave revenge. I want to harm someone. I want to get into a fight and leave someone suffering in agony. I slammed the car door shut and started the engine. Alara was about to face consequences. Wednesday and Thursday passed without incident. I arranged for the dreadful email to be sent on Friday. We would have the entire weekend to witness the chaos unfold. $10,000. She could stash away $500, but dealing with $10,000 all at once would be overwhelming. The deadline was set for Monday noon, her time, or else. My goal was to push Alara to confess. I wanted to hear her say, "Caspian, I'm an ungrateful person who doesn't deserve you. I've lied and cheated. I'm worthless." Though I wasn't expecting exactly that. A brave man faces death once, while a coward experiences fear countless times. At 11 in the morning, Alara's office number appeared on my caller ID. Despite the urge to let it go to voicemail, I answered. "Hey babe, what's going on? I need to meet you urgently." Her tone was serious. Instantly concerned, I asked, "Are you all right? Is everything okay?" "Please." She hesitated, and I thought I detected a sob. "Please come home as soon as possible." Instead of rushing back home, I drove around for an extra 10 minutes, blasting loud music. When I finally arrived, Alara was waiting at the door, looking distressed. "What's the matter?" I asked, trying to put my arms around her, but she held me back. Tears streamed down her face, and her hands trembled. I managed to stay composed. My wife, the woman I loved, was on the verge of admitting her infidelity, her involvement in taking explicit photos with another man, and the fact that she was facing an extortion situation. Despite my seething anger, I maintained a calm exterior, although I pictured myself gripping her neck and shouting, "Give me back those 2 years. Give me back my life. You cheating witch." I resisted the urge. Instead, I took hold of her trembling hands and offered reassurance, saying, "Whatever it is, you know I love you." My words seemed to catch her off guard. Then she abruptly turned and headed toward the bedroom. I went to the kitchen, refilled a glass of water, and brought it to the bedroom. There, I found Alara lying face down on the bed, her body shaking with sobs. I sat down beside her, placed my hand gently on her back, and extended the glass of water to her. She declined with a shake of her head. My strategy was to stay composed and let Alara steer the conversation. I raised my hand slightly to acknowledge her feelings, signaling that I was listening. "I'm a terrible person," she started, placing her hand on my arm. I remained silent, shaking my head slightly to indicate that I disagreed with her harsh self-assessment, showing her that I still saw her as a decent person. It was clear she needed help opening up. "Why do you believe that?" I asked gently. She hesitated before responding. "There are pictures of me with someone else. Not you." "Pictures?" I prompted, feigning surprise. Alara nodded, lowering her head in shame. You never mentioned there were pictures, I said, maintaining my role as the supportive husband. Are these recent pictures? I asked, expressing disbelief with a shake of my head. Alara, who was it? Who? I questioned, keeping my facade intact. Her sobbing intensified. I dropped my mask of concern, observing her without emotion. She was reaping what she had sown. I left the room and went to the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of single malt scotch. Alara cautiously followed and sat across from me. You'll never forgive me, she uttered. I scoffed. After all your promises? Do you want me to leave? She inquired, her voice trembling. I was on the brink of exploding. No, I want you to explain to me why. I want to know why you lied to me. What did I do to deserve this? You didn't do anything wrong. I feel so ashamed, she said, burying her face in her hands, tears flowing again. When I pressed her for his name, she finally admitted, he's married. At that moment, I saw Alara for what she truly was. She had a need to act, to juggle an affair while maintaining the facade of a happy marriage. To her, it was an alluring challenge to play dual roles, the devoted wife and the secret lover. She was trying to be both the exceptional mistress and the outstanding spouse. In her mind, she envisioned transitioning into the perfect mother while keeping up her side role. She continued her act, desperately hoping it would earn her an Oscar-worthy result and ultimately keep me by her side. Had she never considered the potential consequences of failure? She kept talking, shifting to praise me and expressing regret for the pain she had caused. I could see the entire situation clearly. She had genuine feelings for me, but like the tale of Adam and Eve, she had succumbed to temptation. The knowledge within the forbidden fruit consumed her. I had no doubt that Alara's affair had started innocently enough, from friendship to playful interactions, fueled by his need to escape grief and her unspoken concerns about my commitment to starting a family. It progressed from communication to physical encounters, and soon Alara found herself playing a part, unaware that the role had consumed her. As I looked at Alara's vulnerability, I felt a strange connection. Not as spouses or lovers, but as two individuals caught in an endless cycle of possessing knowledge without wisdom, desires without the strength to resist. Alara had tried to cover up her wrongdoing. Why are you telling me this now? I inquired. The pictures. She couldn't continue. She had mentioned the pictures initially but hadn't elaborated on them. What exactly are these pictures of? I asked, trying to keep my fury in check. Of me doing it, she admitted, visibly distressed. Images of my partner engaged in such an act would enrage any man. Were you out of your mind? I snapped. What on earth were you thinking? She revealed it was his suggestion, that the pictures excited him. I had already gathered that much from their emails. My focus shifted. Is he coercing you? Is that what's happening here? I asked, indignant. She might be in the wrong, but she was still my wife. Is he using those pictures to threaten you? Alara shook her head, finally confessing. I'm being extorted. I got an email. It threatened me. Told me to visit a website, so I did. It had pictures of me, but my face wasn't clear. They demanded payment or else they'd expose me. They claimed to have addresses from my contact list. His face appears in those pictures. His wife will see them. Everyone we work with. She gazed at me. He nearly had a heart attack when I confronted him. He kept saying his wife would divorce him, that he'd lose everything. I snorted. Wait, you mean they were digital? Alara nodded in confirmation. You foolish. I trailed off, exasperated. Don't you realize that digital files can be traced? Your emails are stored on servers. Skilled hackers can search for image files if they breach your network. Silence hung between us as I mulled over the issue. If it wasn't your boyfriend, I said the last word with disdain, then anyone might have gotten hold of a password or cracked it. Maybe someone left their laptop unattended or wrote down the password and lost the note. If it was a hacker, they might have searched for image files and then honed in on your account. They didn't threaten him, right? I asked, trying to piece together the full story. No, Elara replied, her voice trembling. Who knows? I muttered. He sent the pictures to you, right? So those pictures were in his emails too. They might have breached his account as well. What should I do? Elara's question was desperate, almost a plea for guidance. You haven't told me everything yet, I pressed. They demanded $500 and said if I paid, they'd remove my pictures from their website. $500? Are you kidding me? What's the name of this website? I asked, exasperated. Let me see it. Maybe I can figure out what's going on. She gave me the site's name. I went to my computer and searched for it, but nothing came up. Did they provide a URL or a link? I called out to her. A link. Probably some made-up name. Can you access the email they sent? I asked. Elara retrieved her laptop, placed it on her desk, and logged into her work email. Send that email to me, I said, then reconsidered. Actually, wait. If I forward it, the link might just turn into text. Let me take a look. I leaned over her desk, copied the email along with its link into a new message addressed to myself, and sent it. Returning to my desk, I opened the email when it popped up a minute later, with Elara watching over my shoulder. The words cheating wives appeared on the screen, making Elara step back instinctively. I pretended to read the text carefully. Who are these jerks? Have you paid them yet? I asked. Yes, I paid them $500, Elara replied. How did you pay? I used my Visa. They had a credit card link. I explored the website thoroughly. I don't see your picture here. They said they'd remove it if I paid, she said, looking distressed. I looked at her, urging her to confess. Come on. Tell me why you're revealing this now. Don't make me drag it out of you. Elara turned away. They sent me another threat today. If I don't pay them $10,000 by Monday, they'll share the pictures with everyone. Is that true? I asked, shocked. Elara nodded and then broke down. I've messed up everything. I can't believe this is happening. She slumped onto the floor. This isn't how I wanted my life to turn out. You know what I'm going to do? I asked calmly. No, she whispered. I'm going to divorce you. That's my plan. Elara sobbed harder. What's your response? You get what you give, honey. Every good thing has its end. Will you pay? She asked, her voice barely audible. I'm lost. I've lost you, she said, raising her head. What should I do? They demanded how much? $10,000. They won't stop, I noted. I know, she replied. If I hadn't lost you, I might have cared. Friday afternoon turned into evening. I dozed off and woke to find Elara in the den, staring at her computer. I can't make the payment, Elara confessed. I just can't. I saw that coming, I grunted. $10,000 is a lot to part with without certainty. Maybe they're bluffing, she mused. If I tell everyone about the pictures, it's almost like they've already been shared. Elara, I can't believe you did this. We were thinking of starting a family. I don't know if I'll ever be able to move past this. On Monday morning, the final step of my plan was set in motion. I sent an email containing all the pictures and some of the most explicit conversations to everyone on her contact list, including family, friends, and colleagues. I didn't wait until noon either. I packed my belongings and loaded them into my car. Some might expect me to stick around to relish the aftermath, but witnessing Elara's struggles would only bring me sadness. The facade of the outside world as an illusion could no longer be maintained. It was time for me to leave. Elara's life unraveled. She had to leave her job and suffered professional and social humiliation. People mocked her. Some turned their backs, but many were sympathetic. Love is intricate. I loved Elara, and she loved me, but her lack of self-control made our marriage untenable. Divorce proceedings were underway. I also worried about her attempting to get pregnant to tie me down. The divorce was finalized, and our possessions were easily divided. We sold the condo and split the proceeds. Elara echoed her previous sentiment. Having you is all that matters. However, having me was no longer an option. Truthfully, we stayed in touch. Her lover faced even worse consequences. His wife couldn't forgive his public humiliation and took him for all he was worth. I felt no sympathy for him. Alara and I started drifting apart when I met the woman I eventually married. Balancing a relationship with my new partner while still being connected to Alara was challenging. Alara reached out with a note when she remarried, expressing that she still had feelings for me. It's been years since we spoke, and honestly, I don't really care about her life anymore. Currently, Aurora and I have 2 kids, aged 3 and 5, and we're actively working on adding a third to the family. Aurora is fully aware of my past, including all the details about what transpired with Alara. We've had open discussions about it. Aurora knows I'd react strongly if she were to ever cheat, and similarly, I know she'd react even more intensely if I were to betray her. The point I'm trying to make is that seeking revenge should be kept in perspective. It's essential not to let the desire for revenge consume you entirely. Getting back at Alara actually helped me grow stronger and, I believe, become a better person. I faced the depths of pain and emerged into the light. I've experienced intense anger simmering within me. Now, when I hold my precious daughters, I'm fully aware of the profound and all-encompassing beauty of unconditional love.